Hello everyone, I hope everyone is doing good and taking good care of themselves. So before I begin this video, I would request you all to please like, share, subscribe the channel and do comment below your thoughts in any of the videos that you find relevant and meaningful. So today I'm going to talk about why I was a bad child and why I wasn't able to be the good child, and I'll tell you why. See, we grew up in a very toxic, dysfunctional and abusive family. In our family, abuse was normalized, and that is what I observed in other families as well, in and around, in different religion, community, neighbors. I observed that abuse was absolutely a normal part of family, but it did not make sense to me. I always had this question: isn't this bad what parents are doing? Isn't this bad what they are forcing their children to do? Doesn't she have a will? Doesn't he have a will? And the answers that I used to get was, I mean, at times I was also replied with a slap, but sometimes the answer that I used to get was this idea that parents are God, and whatever parents think and do, it's for the best of a child. Let me give you a little bit of examples to what I'm saying. So one of the neighbors that I had, the girl wanted to study, but the father wanted her to be married at the age of 18. She turned 18. So the father forced her into marriage, and the father paid a good amount of dowry for the marriage. And after 3 months, she used to call, after the marriage, she used to call. She was very young, she was 18. She used to call and she used to tell, her mother and father that there is something wrong. I don't feel okay over here. They are pressurizing me. They are beating me up for bringing in less money. They want more money. They want more things. And the father had this very weird response that we paid a handsome amount for dowry. And what is it that they want more? So she used to express their interest that they want more money and more things, but the father was, as it is, exhausted. The father did not have any more resources or any more savings so that he could give it to her. And the father one day spoke to her in-laws, and he said that my daughter is telling me a lot of things, that your expectations are skyrocketing. I did the best what I could, and I can't do anything else. I can't do anything more. Things went on. I believe she used to cry and call, and gradually the frequency of her calls reduced. It reduced to such a level where she used to call once in months. So it became like once in a month, and then it became like once in 3 months. 1 year passed in her marriage, and I think after 1 year was over, one fine day the husband called, and said that she has poisoned herself. She has ended her life. It was like a shock for the parent. They were so angry. They went, and then finally all of that cremation happened, and the parents then started blaming the in-laws that they forced her into doing this, or maybe they must have had killed. But forensics and all of those labs indicated that she poisoned herself with I think it was some rodent repellent or something, and that's it. And there was nothing else, no forced or no signs of any force or murder or anything like that. So those in-laws families, the guy's families, were all free, and this poor neighbor lost his daughter. He tried a lot, but he couldn't prove. So now let me tell you what exactly happened. They were, as it is, they grew up with this idea that the girl has to be married off the sooner she reaches her age of maturity, she becomes an adult. At 18 they married her off. They wanted to get off their responsibility because they were burdened with that responsibility. They did not want to live with that responsibility. They forced her into marriage. They thought that money could get her a good house, good security, a good family and a good future, whereas it was absolutely opposite. Though the guy was working well, the family was well to do, but she did not have this, mental peace. She felt abused and exploited with, regular, this nagging, and with this regular reminders that you have brought less, we could have had get, better girls for our son. Tell your father to bring in this and that. And when the father also said, I don't have anything left, I'm sorry, I did whatever best I could, I can't give you anything more. The girl, try and understand, the girl felt very abandoned. The girl felt very lonely because she was pushed into that, and there was no one to rescue. Instead, we do remember the father used to tell her whenever she used to complain that it's getting very difficult to stay over here, they are just being very abusive. The father used to say, it's okay, it's absolutely fine, and that is how you have to adjust. Once your in-laws are dead, you will be the owner and you will own everything and you will have a beautiful life. So this much you have to sacrifice, this much of abuse you have to endure. So this is what the dysfunctional, toxic, deranged parents used to offer to her daughter. And imagine to what level, she would have had felt alone and depressed that she finally ended her life. Yes, she did end her life. And why I'm trying to, bring in this example is because, she grew up with that pressure to be a good girl. The father also kept reminded that if you will agree to me, this is what a good girl is, who agrees to every good and bad thing of the parent. The girl has to say yes. And the father further pushed her, saying that you need to be a good girl, you need to let it go, don't think about it. If they are abusing, if they are being toxic, it's okay, you just have to bear it for some time. So what the father is doing, he only abused. So who's the culprit of her death? It's the father. So yes, now coming back to my thing, why I was never a good child, a good girl, because I started questioning these things. I started questioning and something did not feel right. And looking at these, I often used to ask my parents as well that why do you think, why aren't you, getting angry seeing this happen next door? And they used to say that this is not our business, and she must have not compromised, she must have had some affair. So rather than understanding her mental situation, my parents also saw it from their viewpoint, and their viewpoint was that she must have been loose character woman, she must be having extramarital affair, her son her husband must have come to know, and maybe that is the reason she ended, or maybe they must be they killed them. They had all these stories, but none of them, my parents did not say that the girl's father was the culprit. They never said that. They agreed to that kind of abuse. When I asked them, why do you think that the father is not the culprit, and they used to tell me that why father is culprit, he just spent all his savings. Then I said, I rather asked my parents that where did he spend all his savings, in getting their daughter married to the wrong guy, wrong family. Then she said, we can't do that, it's like a gamble, marriage is like a gamble, arranged marriages are like gamble. But he invested a lot in that marriage, in that girl, and he did his part. If it didn't work out, things had to happen, so it happened. So these kind of abusive relationships, that is like legitimize, that is legitimized as that is how families are, that is how kids should behave. So I couldn't take it. I couldn't agree to anything and everything that my father said. I couldn't agree to anything and everything that my mother said. I, at the back of my mind, knew that they would have done mistakes in their own youth as well, but they never told me the entire story. They wanted to just, show a very good side. If I was feeling otherwise, if I had different kinds of feelings and emotions growing up in of me, and I was only supposed to explore it, and I was only supposed to find answers, they all must have had such, feelings and emotions as well, and that wouldn't have had been addressed, or would have addressed. So the point that I want to make here is that, this superficial and very aesthetically pleasing images that everyone has to live, and everyone has to fit in. So this entire notion that parents can never be wrong, I don't buy. I find it's absolutely foolish. Parents are wrong. A lot of parents have ruined their children's life. No matter how much people deny, it's a fact, and majority of the families are toxic and dysfunctional. So yes, I started saying no. I started saying no to all the toxic things that they wanted out of me. I was not that great in studies, and they used to put a lot of pressure. They used to even physically abuse me, verbally abuse me, emotionally abuse me, and I used to go into this isolation in the house. I used to go into this isolation. I used to stop talking. I used to stop interacting with them, because there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure to be a certain way. And why do I have to be a certain way? Why can't I be myself? So in majority of the families, we are forced not to be ourselves. We are forced to fit that right son, good daughter category, good wife, good daughter-in-law, good husband. We are made to fit in that category. And how do we fit into those categories? We fit into those categories by tolerating abuse, by tolerating and further normalizing abuse, by tolerating toxicity, by embracing dysfunctionality. This is how we fit into that category. That girl's example that I gave, poor girl lost her life, and she wanted to be a good daughter, but in the end she was not the good daughter, neither a good daughter-in-law from the husband's side, nor a good daughter from the father's side. So this is how it is. This is how dysfunctional it is, and that is the reason I was never able to be a good child of my parents. Later on, I started working. I was a lot of abuse was there, and they wanted me to endure it and to take it and let them abuse me and exploit me, and I said no. What did I lose? I lose a lot of money. I lost a lot of job. So yes, this inner awakening happens, and this is one of the best act of kindness that you can do to yourself, is by saying no. And by saying no, you will not become a good son. By saying no, you will not become a good daughter, not a good wife, not a good husband, not a good friend, not a good anything. But instead, what you are earning out of it is something very valuable. You are earning peace by saying no. You are earning your self-respect. You are earning your dignity. You are realizing your self-worth, and above all, you are being extremely kind to yourself by not embracing abuse and saying no to it and not tolerating it. So that is how abusive our society and family has become, and that is why majority of the relations have become toxic, dysfunctional and transactional. Yes, I'll do this for you. I have raised you. You have to do this for me. I have raised you. Your wife has to do this for me. I have raised you. You have to do this for me. Why? Why are we doing that? We are doing that because we are raised in that never-ending dysfunctional process and cycle, where our grandparents were dysfunctional, toxic, our parents are dysfunctional, toxic, and they want us to be dysfunctional, toxic as well. And if we don't, then we are abandoned, judged, alienated, and that's it. So it's a never ending cycle of abused becomes the abuser. That is what is happening in majority of the Indian families. Whether you I mean, it's there, you know, in social media. There is a very small little group who goes on saying, no, there is nothing like that. We are absolutely crime free, abuse free society. We are a highly elated society, consciously, psychologically, mentally. But no, situation, things, incidents speak otherwise. So yes, these are the reasons, you know, I chose to say no to abuse. One more last point that I wanted to add: I couldn't be a good partner, I couldn't be a good wife to my partner. And why was that? Because I said no to abuse. He wanted me to take the abuse and the toxicity of his mother. He wanted me to allow him to sleep around. He wanted me to be okay with him having multiple sexual partners. He wanted me not to have anything outside of the relationship, but he wanted it to be okay to me for him to have relationships outside marriage. And I said no. I said no to abuse. I said no to toxicity. And that is what made me lose my badge of honor of being a very great partner. In fact, when I referred to a couple of my relatives and I referred to his side of relatives, and I said that so and so things are happening, and both the ends that I referred to, they had only one suggestion: it's okay, it happens. You have to compromise, you have to sacrifice. That is how you will get there. And get where is where, and what is that dystopian place where I will get after some time of enduring all these you know, abuse and toxicity, is that I'll get back my autonomy. I'll get back, you know, the power to be myself and abuse another generation. So yes, I mean, this is all what happened, and I didn't subscribe to it, I didn't agree to it, and I said no. And that is the reason I was never a good partner, I was never a good worker, I was never a good child. And I'm okay with it. I'm absolutely okay with it. To hell with all these relations, because at the end, if I'm not peaceful, if I'm not happy within, if I'm not sleeping well, if I'm not feeling healthy from inside, if I'm not being happy in my life, despite of all the hard work and despite of everything that I do, I'm missing on something very important, and that can't be compensated by, you know, tolerating abuse and toxicity in those fake relationships. So yes, say no to abusive and toxic relationship. And please don't tolerate any kind of abuse. Abuse is abuse, and abuse eats you away. So please do this act of kindness to your higher self. Say no to abuse. And yes, by saying no to abuse, I did miss out on my titles and badges, but I'm fine. I'm fine without those, because those were real stupid badges to control and to, you know, hold my autonomy, which I did not want them to, you know, have it. So I took over. I did have to, you know, lose a lot of things, and it's fine, because what I gained after losing is much more valuable, and what I have gained is my own self-worth, my own self-esteem, my own confidence, my own mental peace, my own autonomy over my life, and it goes on. So yes, my advice to everyone is that don't try and be a good wife, a good mother, a good father, a good son, a good daughter, a good daughter-in-law, a good girlfriend, a good lover. You can't. You can only become a good one if you are tolerant towards abuse, if you are able to embrace toxicity, if you are able to survive in dysfunctionality. Only then you will become good version of these, and in the end you won't be sleeping peacefully. You would be living with resentment, you would be living with a lot of this low self-esteem, you would be living with a lot of jealousy, anger, pain. It goes on. So say no to it, say no to such labels, because those labels are just to persecute and subjugate. So say no to any kinds of abuse. And yes, in case if you would want to add in your thoughts, you can always comment below. And please avoid toxicity. Either talk it out, if it works out it's fine, otherwise leave toxic relationships. And don't care for those badges, because you have to feel whether at all you are good. You have to give those badges to yourself, whether you had been a good one, not them. Yeah, because in the end it's what you do, it's what you do in a relationship, it's not what you are forced to do in a relationship. So think about it. Take care of yourself. Lots of love and blessings to all of you. Bye.